the President of the Indian Diaspora Council of Australia, Mr. Pramodh Rai.
Today's MC Prashant Rai and Bindu Khattar. Honorable Stephen Bali, Mayor Blacktown City, and also the New South Wales State Government Member of Parliament, Chief Guest Robin Nair, former Permanent Secretary of Foreign Affairs Fiji, Dr. Satish Rai, Director of Indian Diaspora Council of Australia, Mr. Deepak Kumar, Vice President of IDCA and Director of Good Day Bread for Life Australia, Mr. Sajiranand, President of Sanatan Dharam of Australia, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My good evening, namaste and salam to you all. First of all, I would like to acknowledge and respect the traditional land of all Aboriginal people, to respect their elders, past and present. I ask all those that walk, work, and live on the traditional Aboriginal lands to be respectful of their culture and traditions. I also pay my tribute to the departed soul of the Girmitians and their descendants. On behalf of Indian Diaspora Council of Australia and Good Day Bread for Life Australia, I would like to welcome you all to the second part of the event that we are hosting today. We had a very successful conference that we had in the afternoon, and we are hopeful that the formal and cultural event to commemorate the global abolition of Girmit Divas that you are witnessing shortly will be equally successful. Indian Diaspora Council of Australia is part of the global entity with its headquarters in New York. The Australian chapter of Indian Diaspora Council was established in 2016 by a small group of dedicated individuals. We hosted two very successful centennial Girmit Abolition Days last year, one in Blacktown and the other one in Casula. We are pleased to welcome Deepak from Good Day Bread for Life Australia, who has been hosting Girmit-related events in Newcastle and Sydney in the past, to join us in this event, and I hope that we'll continue to host future such events together. I would like to acknowledge the tremendous effort, time and money that Dr. Satish Rai had put to get recognition for a place of the Girmitians in the history of the Indian diaspora over the last 25 years of his life. My special thanks goes to Anju Pritham for her selfless support given to Satish over 2 decades in the quest to trace the root of Girmitians, as well as to produce several films in India and promote Girmit issues. I can see the fruit of effort coming to light with the recognition of the contributions made by the Girmitians by its motherland, India. The project has already been launched to research and publish Girmit encyclopedias. This project is to write a comprehensive history of Fiji and the global Girmitians who were taken to various British and other European colonies, as well as some 12 million descendants of the Girmitians. There has been some thought put together to make Girmit heritage centers in the countries where the descendants of the Girmitians have settled. To preserve and promote their legacy, IDCA is also researching to build Girmit Heritage Center in Sydney in time to come. I would like to thank all the conference panelists and the cultural event artists for performing free of charge, and all the volunteers for their time and hard work. I extend my sincere thanks and appreciation to Anisha Kumar, Kevin Kumar, Navneel Prasad, and Anisha's parent who have traveled on their own expenses from Auckland to take part in this event. Finally, I would like to thank the sponsors and the audience, without whose support and presence these events would not have been possible. Before I hand over the mic to the MC, I would like to invite Mayor Stephen Bali to present the Indian Diaspora Council of Australia's token of appreciation to Sri Ram Dhani, who is the first descendant of Girmitians, and I would like to tell you that he has reached the age of 97 and is still going strong, and I hope that he will continue to celebrate his centenary celebration in 3 years' time. So I would call upon Naniram, and also Stephen Bali to come and present the token and, of course, take over from here. And okay, we will just want to do it here. So. You can just face the other side so that the photograph, and the next one will be after 3 years, possibly here. I believe he's the oldest first descendant of Girmit, which presently is residing in Sydney, Australia.
All right, now I'll just invite Robin Nair, who's a chief guest here. He's currently the director at ShopS, the Australian National University of Fiji, and previously over at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Fiji, Embassy of Republic of Fiji and the University of Fiji. Please put your hands together for Robin Nair.
I'd like to talk a little bit more in the sense of bringing it all together as to what we are trying to achieve through this conference. So I beg your attention for a few more minutes and then we'll get back to our cultural program. Thank you very much. Well, I start with saying namaskaram, namaste, salam, nisambula, and good evening. My fellow descendants of Girmitians and friends, as the descendants from Fiji, we are all in the same boat as Indo-Fijians. And therefore, we can call ourselves and each other by the familiar name of Jahajis. So, hello Jahajis. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizers of Girmit Heritage and Community Solutions Conference for giving me the privilege to be with you all and to speak to you as one of your guest speakers. I commend and embrace their effort most warmly for discussing the topic of heritage and community solutions. I believe that this is the first time any organization has indeed focused by way of a conference on Indo-Fijians and their issues of today. And in this context, our Girmit heritage and the effects on us of the events of 1987. Today, our Indo-Fijian Girmitia diaspora, or descendants overseas, is larger than the Indo-Fijian population in Fiji, which is indeed our motherland. And I would even go as far as calling it Fiji Mata. Migration is a common phenomenon, but in our case, most of the migration happened post the events of 1987, when a purely racially motivated coup was committed and tragically directed against Indo-Fijians as a people. From that day onwards, Fiji has been spiraling downwards in many ways, including in its social and economic development. And this has not stopped and continues to this day. 1987 will remain etched in our minds as a very significant date and only forgotten when Fiji can achieve a true democracy and a democracy for all. In fact, we can say that our Fijian diaspora as a whole, including our Itoke Fijians, is extremely large in terms of the population of Fiji. It has been realized that all Fijians of all ethnic groupings in Fiji suffered from the events of 1987, and its effect and habits of coup are still reverberating for us to this day, for all of us to this day. Today, I believe Fiji is indeed as far away as we were in 1987 from our dreams of one people and one nation. And that is why we largely live here today. And that is why we are here today to discuss our lives in New South Wales, and that in the context of our Fiji Girmit heritage. I earlier alluded to what Fiji is today, that Fiji is still spiraling downwards, a sensitive topic perhaps for some, but for discussion on another, and it is for discussion on another occasion. And I don't want to delve into that any further today. Fiji may be far away from your struggles, sadness, joys or happiness in your adopted country, or the country of the birth of your children. But therein lies the problem of our fragmentation as a people in our foreign lands. I believe very strongly that Fiji must remain in your and in your children's consciousness, in your prayers and in your hopes. Fiji indeed remains our bond, and as I earlier said, we are Jahajis from and in the same boat. Fiji will remain so no matter what happens. The bond with Fiji will remain. Our Hindu community, for example, believe that when we are born, our parents bury our umbilical cords in the earth, or as we call Dharti, in order to unite us with our Mother Earth. Many of our umbilical cords are buried there and will forever remain on those soils, binding us to the motherland. And for those who are not Hindus, they also have such images or symbols of bond. For our IDCA brothers and sisters, the concept of Vanua is very strong and almost spiritual. The first three questions for me and for you tonight, in order to address the topic of this speech, is: do we have a Girmitia heritage? And if there is one, do we recognize that Girmit heritage? What is it? Do we recognize the Girmit heritage as one of significance? And if it is of significance, do we want its values to be an important part of our lives and the lives of our children born here or being raised here? My answer is, of course, we do have a Girmit heritage. We have been born into it. It is our history and indeed our story. And it will come to be so even if you wish to deny or be indifferent towards it. Then the question, what do we want to do with that heritage? I will talk a little later as to what I believe is our common heritage, but I want to say now that we must treasure it and we must keep it alive and live by it as a people. But my pain or sadness, and I emphasize that my pain and sadness is that our community overseas may have become ambivalent about who we are as a community, and a community with very distinct history and heritage. I share this concern most strongly with perhaps the greatest historian of Indo-Fijian indenture, and who enjoys a substantial reputation internationally, and that is Professor Brijlal. He says in his publications that some of our Indo-Fijians, when reminded of Girmit, react if they had been reminded of some vaguely mirthful misadventure of long time ago. He said, and I quote, "Their reaction is symptomatic of the general Indo-Fijian ambivalence about their past. They have moved on in the world and made something of themselves." I have personally come across this attitude. I understand that. But people of this attitude often look at me with distrust, disbelief, or ambivalence and attribute unfair aspersions and reason at my continued close association and interest with Fiji. My concern is associated with my closeness to my ancestry of Girmit and the warmth of my feeling towards the people who have been left behind in Fiji, who perhaps cannot escape from Fiji to greener pastures where we have been able to come. But they remain our people, and they are our constant reminders of where we have come from and who we are. They are our constant reminders of where we have come from and who we are. So, what is our heritage and the heritage for our children who live here? Our heritage is our history. We have a soul. We have a culture. Culture is a tool of our survival as a people. Many of you in your new worlds might contemplate assimilation with the predominant culture of our adopted countries as our passage to survival and the survival of our children's future. I implore you to think again. We are very lucky that in this country, the future of our children is relatively secure. But we cannot afford to create another culture for our children, one without roots or history. As humans, we have an innate natural desire to know who we are. Many of our older people have even gone as far as India to find their roots, and with a desire to explore and find out who they are and why our ancestors left Mother India. Our children will come across these natural feelings, a feeling for their identity. We must keep alive our stories, our heritage. We must preserve what binds us, our cohesion. Otherwise, we are cultureless and fragmented. We must encourage our children to go on a pilgrimage to Fiji and see where you and I came from and their origin and their history. You must tell them the stories that you heard from your grandfathers and grandmothers. Much of it now more recently written and documented by scholars. The Girmitians, my dear friends, were confident of themselves as to who they were, and even in their very harsh and foreign environment of Fiji, and who they wanted to remain. Professor Brijlal points out the Girmitians found themselves caught between the demands of two worlds, one which they had left but not completely escaped, and one which they had entered but not fully embraced. They had left one home, at least emotionally, not found another in their lifetime. They lived and died in a state of ambivalence. Perhaps this might resonate with our experiences of migrating to this country. The story of indenture is, of course, full of drama and tragedy, raising issues and perhaps some resonance in our own lives here. How does a powerless and isolated group of Girmitians cope with the demands and expectations of the dominant group? How and in what ways an immigrant community, illiterate, rudderless, cut off from its sources and cooped up in hostile environment, reconstitute itself from surviving fragments of culture and memory? The Girmitians called indentured experience in Fiji Narak, hell, and it was harsh and brutalizing experience which robbed them of ijat, dignity, but they did not give up or lose hope. I do not wish to glamorize our Girmit heritage, but our heritage through our Girmites is indeed one of survival as a people against greatest odds, survival with justice and dignity. The memory of indenture is that of poverty and humiliation, but our parents and foreparents did not want their children to go through similar experiences. Hard work, thrift, and education and family are our hallmarks.
So I'm going to be very brief. Thank you for coming. Thank you for remembering our ancestors. I hope that this is about us remembering what connects us rather than what divides us. Have a great evening. Thanks.